Hello, welcome back to Read Your Bookshelf. I'm Catherine, and today I'm gonna do I guess, January and February wrap. February was way busier than I expected. So I didn't film anything. That's not entirely true. I filmed some stuff. I didn't get anything edited or posted. So it is March 2nd, and I'm gonna go through everything I've read this year, which is not a lot, but there are some doozies in there. So, first of all, I finished If We Were Villains. I freaking loved this book. This book was absolutely fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. This book was definitely written by someone who spends a lot of time in theaters with theater people. I have notes in the margins. I have just so many things. There's a page in here. I'm going to see if I can find it. I'm going to cover the name. But like there's a specific person it makes me think of and a very specific incident that I lived through. Here it is. We're just going to cover that name. But like this is you, sir. This is you, and you know this is you. Anyway, if you like Dark Academia and if you're a theater student, I highly recommend picking this up. It was so good from start to finish. It's a little slow, but it's meant to be. Like, you can feel that it's meant to be. It is so full of Shakespeare, and like some people might find that pretentious. I was reading through it and I was like, is there a word for like pretentious, but when it's good? I don't find the Shakespeare references or any of the theater stuff to be overbearing or talking down to you either. Which I think a lot of pretension is like, oh, look at this thing that I know that you don't understand. I don't get that from this book. But I also have lived in this world. Not specifically with like a Shakespeare conservatory, but I graduated with a BA in theater. And it was a state school, but let me tell you, these people still exist at state school. Maybe not to this degree, and no one in my class died. Spoilers. But it's Dark Academia. What do you expect? So, anyway, if you're into Dark Academia, if you're into theater, if you're into Shakespeare, highly recommend. After that, I moved on. I don't have a picture for this one, so there'll be a picture right here. I read Onyx Storm when it came out, and I haven't said anything. I thought I was going to do a whole video on it, but that's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm about to give all of my thoughts right here, right now. It won't take long, but like, if you have not read it, if you love the series, if you don't want spoilers, go to this timestamp. Because I'm going to talk about spoilers, because I'm going to talk about if you want to know before you go, I gave it 2 stars. I gave Fourth Wing 4 stars. I gave Iron Flame 1 star, and I gave Onyx Storm 2 stars. That's where I'm at. So if none of what I am about to say appeals to you, timestamp. I hated it. I absolutely hated it, and I feel bad that I hated it. I don't feel bad that I hated it. I'm really disappointed. I did not want to hate this series. Like, I did not go in. I gave Fourth Wing 4 stars, and I stand by that 4 stars. As a freshman fantasy novel, as a first try in the realm of fantasy and not the usual genre of romance that Yarros writes in, I thought it was a solid attempt. And it had so much promise. But then book 2 was rushed out in 6 months, and it shows. And it was just so disappointing for Iron Flame to be a book that was just the same argument over and over and over again. And it felt like nothing happened. You start at the school, you end at the school, and the only difference is that there are new students that weren't allowed to be there before. And like, I know I'm oversimplifying it, but it's just like the world ending stuff seems to be taking its fucking time in that book. So that was that. Now, part of the reason that I actually read Onyx Storm, I was absolutely not going to read Onyx Storm. Iron Flame burned me. I was done with the series. And then I went to see Wicked. Hang on, follow me. I'm a theater kid, as discussed, and I have been given so many terrible film adaptations of musicals that when they announced that Ariana Grande was going to be playing Galinda, I said, absolutely not. That's a stunt pick. They just want to get in the younger crowd who maybe missed Wicked like back in the day. It's not a real cast. I was so wrong. I was so wrong. All of the issues that I have with that movie, and there are not many, it is not a perfect film though. It's a great movie. Absolutely fantastic. I will not say 5 stars. My issues are small, and it has to do with pacing, which we can discuss at another time. Ariana Grande was fucking amazing. She had me on her side as an actress, not Galinda herself. Had me on her side in the first song. No One Mourns the Wicked was so good. She did such a good job. So, with that freshly in my mind, and seeing that Yarros had taken over a year to get book 3 ready, I was like, okay, it looks like they learned from their mistake of rushing out book 2. It looks like they're going slower, they're spending more time. I will give it one more shot, but only if I can get it from the library. I was not going to pay money out of my pocket to read the follow-up to a 1-star book. So, I borrowed it from the library. I got the audiobook, and I did not like it. I gave it 2 stars, and it's just boring. It's so boring. And it feels like Yarros knows what she wants to do, but she hasn't figured out how to do it yet. So it was like all of the hopping from island to island, all of the like trials at each island, that wasn't set up. Like, it just bounces from thing to thing, and it was like on the 3rd island, but like, oh, they're each going to be a different god, and she's going to have to prove herself in a very specific way. There was no ramp up for that. It was just, we're going to go to all these places and try to get these people. It would have been really nice if she had spent more time in her dad's journals, realizing that that's what she was about to have to do. Anyway, I would have given it 1 star, but Broccoli the kitten raised it an entire point. Broccoli was great. The dragons got boring. Andarna being like, Yarros can't let any characters leave the narrative. There was a point where Miro almost died. I was like, there's no way she's gonna kill Miro. Yeah, that didn't happen. Taryn almost died. There was no way that was gonna happen. Andarna leaves. And I was like, oh wow, it's gonna be real interesting to see what happens with Andarna gone in the next book. She's back by the end. Back by the end. And then it ends with the marriage and completely erasing Violet's memory of how she got married and what all of the stuff going into it. No, I'm done. I tried. It's not for me. It's just not for me, and that's fine. I'm not trying to tell you you're dumb for liking this book. I am not. Please love this book. This book is beloved. It's just not for me. And those are the reasons why. But props where they're due, and why I'm so disappointed. Onyx Storm made me cry. It actually made me cry, but it had nothing to do with Violet or Xaden or Dane or like any of the main characters. Huge spoiler, skip ahead like 10 seconds if you want to skip it. I say that and then I pause, so now you're going to be back and you'll be like, oh no, she said the thing. All right, I'm probably going to timestamp it. Anyway, I don't even remember who it is. I know I should know the name because the name's around, but Imogen's best friend is dying in her arms. And she says she's scared. And Imogen says, don't worry, my mom will take care of you. Absolutely gutted me. And not because I'm like super connected to Imogen either. Like, she's got talent. She can do things, but it's just the series is not working for me at all. So that was 2 stars. I'm done with the Empyrean series. So, anyway, after that, I read Nightbitch by Rachel Yoder. This was the book club pick at my local indie bookstore for Adaptations Book Club. So we read the book, watched the movie. I think I gave this book 4 stars. I like this book. I'm not sure I would ever reread it, and I'm not entirely certain who I would recommend it to. If you like weird girl fiction, maybe try this out. It was giving Bunny vibes, and Bunny was a 5-star book for me. I loved Bunny. Such a good book. If you watched my other video, I love Bunny. This gave similar vibes, but if the theme is specifically motherhood. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, go ahead. The movie is a 3 out of 5 adaptation for me. It's okay, but like, this entire book is written in the second person, and you are never ever in anyone else's head, so it makes it really, really difficult to even believe if everything you're reading is true from Nightbitch's perspective. So I don't know how to help with that, but like, if any of that sounds interesting, I do recommend it. Like, the writing is interesting. I didn't find the main character likable, but that didn't mean I didn't like the book. I just didn't really find the main character likable. But she was still extremely compelling. And the ending is wild. There is, spoiler trigger warning, I guess, there is a violent pet murder in here, which, if you don't want to read, then skip it. So that's what I have to say on that one, I guess. After that, I read When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. We had a second snow day with actual snowfall in Tennessee this year in February, and I came home and read an entire book in a day because it's only 166 pages. I loved this book. I gave this one 5 stars, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to the sequel this year. You can all laugh at me. You can all laugh at me. It's totally fine. I did not realize who Veronica Roth was until I finished this book. Like, I knew the name. I knew I had heard the name. I knew that, like, this was not a new author, that this author had been. I did not realize that she was the author of Divergent. Divergent hit at a weird time for me. I'm pretty sure I was in college when the first book came out, so, like, I missed that whole thing. My sister was obsessed with Divergent. She loved that series. So it's like I knew about the series. I think I read the first book because my sister was so obsessed with it, but I definitely didn't finish the series, and I think I only ever saw the first movie and not in theaters. Like, it wasn't, I missed it. I was at a different phase in life at the time, so, but this is a really good urban fantasy book. I really enjoyed it. The main character, just the 3 main characters have a really, 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 really fun dynamic, and I enjoyed the interweaving of the different myths and fairy tales and all of the stuff. I love an urban fantasy, and this one was really solid. So, highly recommend if you're into that genre. And yeah. And lastly, or at least the last book I've read thus far this year, I finished House of Blight. Let's talk about it. I was not a fan. I didn't like this book, and I'm giving it 3 stars. 3 stars. I'm gonna post a video or maybe a short or something. I will post what my rubric is for what I give how many stars. 3 stars is it's decently written. I know who I would recommend it to, but it's not for me. And that's exactly what this was. This is a if you really liked A Court of Thorns and Roses, if you really liked there's another one. Oh, Fourth Wing. If you really like those books and that writing style, this book I think you're going to like very, very much. I thought that the pacing was off. I didn't like the way that the main character interacted with the 2 brothers. It felt like we didn't get enough time with either of the potential love interests. And then stuff went really, really fast at the end. This is book 1 in a duology, so more is to come, but I didn't like where this ended enough for me to attempt book 2. I believe it's a duology, that's what I've heard. I will research and put it in the notes if it's not, but the reason I requested this arc is because someone that I really respect had raved about it on their Bookstagram, and they were talking about how much they loved it and how upset they were that they couldn't talk with anybody about it. And I ran and got it because I was like, if she likes it that much, I'm really hoping. Because here's the thing, I want to like romantasy. I really do. I enjoy romance. I enjoy fantasy. Fantasy is my first love. It is my first love. It lives inside my heart and mind constantly. I love fantasy. I love dragons. I love magic. I love wizards. I love fairies. I love it all. So good. And I have yet to find a romantasy that works for me. And I was thinking about it, and it's like, if I want a romance forward fantasy, all of the best ones I've found just get shelved under romance. They don't get shelved under fantasy because the romance is at the forefront. And I have thoughts on why we're using the term romantasy versus just fantasy. And like, I get it to an extent, but there is no more romance in this book than there is in a lot of traditional fantasy that I've read. And I will say, I think the magic system in here is really interesting. I think that the magic system's cool. I like the general idea of what's going on. I just don't feel like the author's writing style was up to the standard that I would want for this type of relationship. Like, it just didn't feel like there was enough time spent with anybody. Everything seemed really, really like surface level, and I didn't get any idea why she was in love with anybody. I did also call the entire plot from the 10% mark. I missed 1 or 2 small details, and I might make a whole video on this and about my thoughts on romantasy, but this one just didn't hit for me, and that's a bummer because I was really looking forward to it. But like, I finished it last night, and not my cup of tea. But if you're looking for something to read after ACOTAR, after Fourth Wing, if you're looking for something to fill that gap while you wait for other books to come out, I really do think that you will enjoy this. I didn't, but that's fine. And that brings us to today. That's everything I've read this year so far. So, going forward, I successfully read 3 things off of that video of things that I'm prioritizing. I finished If We Were Villains, which was one. I finished One Among Crows, which is one. And I finished House of Blight, which was one. So that's 3 off of my list. So I'm going to pick 2 more for March and see if we can get through those. So let's look at the list. So books from the stack that I think I am going to prioritize in March are All Systems Red by Martha Wells. It's the first Murderbot book. And with the show coming out, not that I have, what is it on Amazon? I don't have Amazon Prime. But like, it's coming out and I want to be able to chat about it if I watch it at someone else's house. But it's another nice short one. I should be able to knock it out fairly quickly. So I'm going to prioritize All Systems Red. And it is time. It is time for me to finish the Indian Lake trilogy. We're going to try and finish The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones this month. I love this series, and I have a really bad habit of like loving a series and getting to the last book and just putting it off forever because I don't want it to end, because when it ends, what do I read next? But he's got a great backlog, and I have like 3 books of his that I haven't read yet that I have purchased. So it's not like I don't have more to read by him. But anyway, we're going to finish up those 2, hopefully, this month. Other than that, I'm probably going to try and read one of the other 2 arcs that I have. Probably Murder at a Highland Wedding, because I think that one is technically the one that's next to be published after House of Blight. So yeah. And then I will probably read one of the other books that I bought in the last month. I have spent a lot on books in the last month. I'm going to make a video about this too, but I'm prioritizing owning physical media this year. So a lot of people are doing low or no spend years. I'm kind of doing the opposite, but I've got a system and a plan for it. So I'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, that was the January-February wrap up, and I hope you've had a good 2 months. Hope you're reading good things. If you like this video, please thumbs up, like, and subscribe. I have a couple subscribers, but not a lot, and that's okay. But I hope you're enjoying it. And I think that's it. Yeah. Tell me down below, what are you reading this month? Are you prioritizing physical media? Or are you doing a low buy, no buy year? Or none of the above? Anyway, let me know. Bye.